I will tell you the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Karel, and I'm sorry to have been moving a bit in advance, but I have to join the EIT, which you have been speaking yesterday with the President, because I'm the representative of the Commission and the Board, so unfortunately I will have to leave a bit earlier than planned. I'm very happy to be with you today. I know you had a very interesting day yesterday, especially on the EIT, because you met the President, you met Commissioner Figel and the President of the Governing Board. It was a very successful day, by the way, on this issue. And the interesting thing in the EIT is, of course, what you have certainly noticed yesterday, which is to bring together three areas which are not always used to work together, which is higher education, research, and enterprise in a much more systematic and structured way. So the EIT, and especially in a period of crisis, which we have been talking a lot yesterday about with the President, is a very important model to foster innovation and new partnership models. And I want to start with that, not to talk about the EIT, because you have done it yesterday, but to say that there is a big discussion in Europe about the way to get out of the crisis. And one of the messages that the Commission has been giving is that, of course, you need to have short-term measures, which are the recovery packages, which we see now. But to get out of the crisis, an innovation strategy, a creativity strategy, is a very important component. And everybody knows about the success of one of the EU member states, Finland, which has decided in the early 90s, at a time of recession, minus 9% of GDP, to invest in education, in research, and in innovation. And Finland is in all the EU benchmarks about the growth and job strategy, the Lisbon strategy, the country which is on the highest component. So it's a very important debate now in Europe, how to continue and even to intensify investing in innovation, in research, and in education. So this is the context of something I want now to highlight, which is the European Year of Innovation and Creativity. The European Year of Innovation and Creativity, interestingly enough, came from a very different proposal, which was put by Austria, of having a year of education and music, how to better link culture and education. And then the debate grew on, and we thought that we had to have a much broader context, which is innovation and creativity, and which is to try to pull together, with a view to promote Europe's competitiveness, the more traditional aspect of innovation related to industry, and the cultural element, and especially the creative industry, cultural industries, and to pull all these people together. And the ambassadors, which we have, and some of them are here today, we have a number of ambassadors for the year, come from these different areas. And in a way, it's to push people who are not used to talk together, the cultural world, the industry world, the research world, to really try to foster a strategy. So what in this context is a European year? The EU is developing a lot of European years in very different areas. Last year, for example, was the European Year of Intercultural Dialogue. The year before was the European Year on Equal Opportunities. Next year will be the year on fighting against poverty and social exclusion. 2011 will be the European Year of Volunteering. So on very different societal areas, we are trying with European years to raise awareness on some issues, to mobilize the stakeholders with a view to help member states and the stakeholders to develop better policies on this issue, and at the same time to try at EU level to facilitate and support change. And innovation and creativity are clear areas, as I said, especially in the context of the economic crisis, to develop new policies and new areas. And by the way, contrary to other years, and this year we would like to come at the end, not only with awareness raising, with putting together all the different actors. I was yesterday, for example, in the Committee of the Regions to see how regions can promote innovation and creativity with support of EU funding, by the way, and to try also, and we have asked our ambassadors to do that, to come at the end of the year with a kind of manifesto, with a policy document which would give recommendations from independent people, from the ambassadors, and you will meet some of them today, to get ideas for the next EU period. We will be coming in about 2 years' time with proposals on the new financing perspectives of the EU from 2013, and very probably the Commission will propose that around 2011. So also helping to prepare the future. As Karel indicated, we will have a new Commission. Only officials stay. We will have a new Parliament, a new European Parliament, and if the Lisbon Treaty is ratified, we will also have a President of the European Council. So we will be sitting in a different institutional environment and in a different economic environment. So we very much hope that by the end of this year, we will get real proposals to have a much more innovative and creativity strategy. That's the aim of the year, very important element. What do we do in my own area to try to foster innovation and creativity? The first area, I mentioned the EIT, you know it now, so I won't go beyond. But the second very important area in which we work is the modernization of education systems. And in the modernization of education system, which remain the competence of national member states, and in some cases, like Germany, of their regional authority, the role of the EU is not to harmonize, of course, but it's to support and facilitate reform through exchange of experience, through mobility programs like Erasmus, which is one of the best-known European projects. And we have what we call in our jargon an open method of coordination in the area of education, which means that we fix at European levels a number of objectives and benchmarks, very important, and on the basis of these objectives, member states develop their reforms in their own ways and tradition. And we are just in the process of renewing it. We are finalizing the negotiation. The next May Council on Education will adopt the new method. And for the first time, we have put as one of the main objectives of the education reforms, promoting innovation and creativity. So that covers very broad issues such as entrepreneurial education, risk-taking, which is very important and not very well developed in our education systems, putting much more culture and education together, the intercultural skills, for example, the so-called soft skills, the lateral skills are extremely important in a globalized and complex world. And we are trying even, which is very complicated, to define an indicator and a benchmark of what innovation and creativity is. That's a very complex technical thing. But if we come to that and we are able to measure the way we can advance on innovation and creativity, that will be very important. So this new method will be focusing, amongst other things, on innovation and creativity. The second thing we are doing, very important, is the modernization of higher education. You know that we have good universities in Europe, but when we see the ranking, the Shanghai ranking, for example, we see that we have very few European universities which are in the top 10. By the way, we are trying to promote an alternative ranking, but that's another story. But we would like to help, in particular, the EIT is a good example of that, to help to combat something which is very important in Europe compared in particular to the US, which is fragmentation. And also to push universities to develop new models, more innovative models, innovative governance models, partnerships, innovative funding models, which will be very important in an area, in a period of economic difficulties, through developing public-private partnership, which is something